Wargaming tactics, winning your next game. That's what we're going to explore and focus on in this vlog. We're going to be exploring this from a very high-level perspective, independent of style or system, looking for these markers. Because if you're rolling dice, moving miniatures around, flipping cards, there are certain fundamentals that are always in play. And this type of knowledge, right? Wargaming is a physical thing. You need to get out there on the tabletop and play. Naturally, winning games, but even in losing games, just playing with that tactica, understanding the rules, your player personality, all of those things coming together, that's going to give you experience to apply the tactica. Now, within that framework, can we build a checklist? And we're going to be a little bit ambitious here. Can we build a checklist that will cut that learning curve in half? The idea being, this checklist we're going to build in a moment, there's no real secret sauce here. You would uncover this playing 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 games of your system. You'd start to see these pieces aligning. Well, if we're aware of them going in, can we cut that down to 10 games, 15 games, and position you for that win? All right, jumping in. And we're going to keep these kind of in order of building and revelation. The first is the list. This idea that within a system, within a game, you're going to have a battle force, an armada, a warband, a battle group, a squadron, and it's going to be trying to do something on the tabletop. It's going to try and maybe outperform your opponent, maybe make use of team tactics, maybe bring in some obscure rule, maybe dominate certain points of the table. There's a plan, in theory, behind it. So as your opponent is pulling out their models, assuming it's not a mission that has hidden models or some specific rules, but generally wargaming, we've got the table, you set up your toys, I set up my toys, and we're good to go. So as they're pulling out their models, you are looking at those units and you are asking yourself, what are they trying to do on the table? How are they going to win the mission with these models? And likewise, how are they going to stop and prevent me from winning the mission? Sidebar for a moment. There's two things going on in every game: the mission and your opponent. Now, the mission are those objectives that you have to win, and it might be something as straightforward as annihilate your opponent. That's pretty easy. Other missions might be take a certain point on the table or achieve these objectives in X number of turns. That's what you're trying to do. At the same time, your opponent is trying to also do that, but they're also trying to prevent you from doing that, and you're trying to prevent them from doing that. So you need to do two things. You can't just focus on the mission. It's very important. You have to also focus on every turn, minimizing your losses while maximizing your opponent's losses. So there's this duality going on. But all of that focuses on what's your opponent's list going to do. Now, they're doing the same thing. They're looking at what you're pulling out of your toy chest, your war gear, and they're saying, well, what's Fritz going to do? What's the focus behind this warband? As that is happening, you're asking yourself, well, what are the most common counters? What are they going to come after me? How are they going to try and stop my army? And you have an answer for that. When does the game start? Second, deployment, right? Often we think, okay, turn one, I'm going to go or you're going to go, and now the game is officially started. Deployment mastery is key. This idea, if we look at a traditional gaming table, think about your last game. You've got your side of the table where you're standing or seated. I've got my side, thirds, and we've got that mid-band. Sometimes it's table quarters. Sometimes it's long, short table edges. Again, different for the mission that we're playing. But the idea behind deployment is I'm trying to gain an advantage. I'm trying to position myself turn one, whether I go first or go second, to do three things. Now, some are easier than others. A lot depends on the mission, but I'm at least engaging and asking these questions to try and leverage this momentum, as opposed to just like, let me put down my toys and, I don't know, see where they go. So the first is, how can I get out quickly from my deployment zone? Because you're artificially constrained. Look, you can only put your units down here. How can I get out and move quickly to dominate, control key points on the table? And those key points could be lanes of fire. They could be certain terrain features to get cover or operate if it's like a bunker to hide in. They're also there. Are there certain mission objectives where I want to be at them sooner rather than later? Likewise, I'm asking myself, where can I deploy when I move out? Can I set up so that things are harder for my opponent? An example might be, if I'm playing a horde army and I've got a big group, center mass, I want to put them as far up in the center of the table as possible. So this way, turn one, they can move out and dominate the center of the table physically. Being present in the center of the table is very, very important. So how is deployment going to work? Now let's talk about the next piece, taking losses. I'm simplifying things a little bit here because it's a very broad, focused tactica. Certainly I've pushed up to the Wargaming Tactics playlist here, dice flow, dice mechanics, dice pools, and we've explored that in detail. But I am going to summarize it a little bit here. If you think about a unit, take a unit from your recent game and visualize that unit and put out in front, physically or visualizing, the dice that it can attack with. So I've got 8 TIE fighters, 2 shots each, 2 D8s each. That's the volume of dice. It's the maximum number of shots that I can shoot at. Now, as I take losses, as I remove a TIE fighter here and there, that dice pool gets smaller and smaller and smaller, to the point where now if I only have, say, 2 TIE fighters left or 2 infantry left, 2 shots with the rifle or 1 machine gun shot if it's chain of command, that dice pool has shrunk to the point where at this stage in the game, in the beginning of the game, in the mid game, is it really going to do something, right? If I have 10 shots going at you, you know the matrix, right? 10 shots means 5 or 6 hits, means 3, maybe 4 wounds, maybe 1, or if I'm lucky, 2 kills. So you have this idea, this dice pool that gets smaller and smaller and smaller because you don't wound, you miss, armor, saves like that, morale, till it causes something to kill. So maybe, 10 shots to remove 1 or 2 models. Well, if my unit's down to 3 or 4 models, okay, it's below the volume of dice that it can reliably put out. Unless I get extremely, extremely lucky. And if I do, I don't want to spend my luck on this. If I get really, really lucky, if I've got, 2 infantrymen left and I get really lucky with the rolls and I kill 1 of your models or 2, that's fantastic, but it's still not enough of a volume and very, very unlikely. So as you take losses and your units get mangled and you're down to these little 3 or 4 squadrons, or your fire output, if it's a ship-based game, is low, pull back, retreat, save them for the end of the game when you're going to mob up. Mob up is where, look, we've been battling 5 or 6 turns and we're just things are smoking, things are blown up. We're down to, 10, 15 guys each. We have all these little groups of miniatures. At that point, I want to rally, combine them. Now, I might not be able to physically combine them, but if I have a group of, say, 3 infantry and 2 infantry left, I can't physically combine them into one, but I can run them side by side and shoot it to the same target, which has a similar effect. So within that focus, at the end of the game, these units now that are smaller are dealing with and attacking smaller units themselves. Being able to reform and mob up is much more important. Maintaining volume of dice, but when you get down to that limit, and what that limit is a little bit different, again, for the gaming system, pull back, bunker down, hang out in your deployment zone, pushing for end game. Last checklist point that we're going to explore. You're going to utilize these tactica. Look for them in your own system so that next game, you come back here and comment, Fritz, I played this Saturday, I won, we're cutting down that learning curve. I want you to take these ideas, fortify them, make them better than anything I can become or that I can do. And within that, at the start of the war game, your armada, army, warband, whatever that's going to be, you're at peak, right? Turn 1, you're never going to be stronger. Every turn, whether the game goes on till the mission wins, or maybe it's a set game, 6 turns, every turn you're getting weaker and weaker and weaker because you're taking losses. Now, hopefully you're not making mistakes and your tactica is minimizing those losses, but you're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So the time to be bold and decisive is right out the beginning of the game. We talk about this as momentum. I push that up to the Wargaming Tactics playlist, momentum. where you've got volumes of dice, where you've got enough units, where you've got synergy going on. Come out turn one with a plan. Get moving, get motivated. That is the time to be bold. I won't say take risks, but be decisive, or maybe take some risks. Mid-game and end-game. Mid-game, it's starting to be too late. You've taken enough losses, your opponent has. End-game, it's just barely holding on to win or to deny mission objectives. I will see you on the tabletop.